Well, hello, chat. It's just me tonight, the drinker, and well, here's to you, everyone. Look at this. I'm classing things up tonight. I've got a glass of wine in bottle form. Goes down all right, though. It seems like the right kind of sophisticated tone to set for this little live stream where I'm talking about, the intellectual colossus that is the Rings of Power. See, we did our open bar yesterday, and it was fantastic fun. But obviously, the one thing we couldn't really talk about was the latest episode of Rings of Power because it hadn't quite come out yet. And that's probably going to be an issue with my open bar streams being on a Thursday. But hey, I'm here. It's a Friday. You're here. And I've finally seen episode 3. So why not talk about it a little bit? Anyway, what can I say about episode 3? It's proof yet again that the show is visually splendid and can't knock it for its visuals. The vistas that it conjures up of Numenor and Mordor and all these different landscapes, they look fantastic and can't knock it for that. Yet again, it's where you start actually having characters say things and do things where it all starts to go wrong. Yeah, the episode opens up with Galadriel being taken to Numenor alongside not Sauron, and they're brought before Queen Miriel because, strong, diverse queen, obviously. And straight away, the show has to knock old not Sauron down a peg or two because he tells Galadriel to bow before the queen. And then the queen chimes in and says, no one bows in Numenor. So, yeah, okay. That's you fucking told, son. Don't you presume to tell them anything, you mansplainer. So then Queen Miriel and Galadriel get into a bit of a pissing contest about who's the strongest strong female character of the bunch. And they trade a lot of insults because basically the elves and the Numenorians have fallen out with each other for some reason. Fucking the show doesn't really explain it. They just don't like each other now. And I am genuinely baffled by the result of this conversation, right? Maybe some of the people in chat who've seen this can help me out here, but the situation is that they don't want Galadriel and not Sauron on their island. They don't want them on Numenor because they're not welcome there. Elves aren't welcome, and he's like a southerner who's not of Numenorian blood, so they want rid of them. And Galadriel wants to get out of there as well. She needs to get back to Middle-earth because she's got to continue the hunt for Sauron, not knowing that he's right beside her the whole time. That's the twist, you see. God, this show's so smart. But anyway, so the solution you would think would be obvious. Let's put them on the first boat out of there. But for some reason, this seems to be a massive problem. They are unwilling to transport Galadriel back to Middle-earth. And so what is to be done? And so not Sauron jumps in with a great suggestion. Why don't we... I don't understand this. Why don't we stay here for 2 or 3 days while you mull over our request that you didn't want to grant anyway? And they're like, yeah, okay, I'm convinced. And that's enough for them. So Galadriel, who is not welcome here because she's an elf, is allowed to stay there and given fresh clothes. And she's basically allowed to roam the islands pretty much at will. Because, that's what you do with people you don't trust. You give them free access to your entire city. Smart move. But it's at this point that we at least get to meet the one somewhat likable character in this episode, which is Elendil, the father of Isildur, who you might remember from the first Lord of the Rings movie. He's the guy who chops the ring off Sauron's hand. So you know that he's a man of importance. But Elendil is just his father who gets killed during the battle. So, he's less important in that grand scheme of things. But in this show, he's in his prime at the moment. So he's like a captain of the Navy, and he's put in charge of watching Galadriel. And so they strike up what I would normally have called a friendship, but she, Galadriel's trick for dealing with people is to treat them like complete assholes and be a complete bitch to everyone that she deals with. So I wouldn't really call it a friendship, but it's funny because they go to the other side of the island on horseback, and you get these really weird, long, extravagant shots of Galadriel riding in slow motion. And just her big goofy face, just like, just honestly, she looks learning impaired. And the camera's on her for fucking hours. It takes forever. It's all just wasting time though, because we've got to pad out the runtime. So basically, the whole gist of this is Elendil comes from a part of the island that's still somewhat friendly towards the elves, and so he takes her to where he comes from so that she can learn basically elven lore that the Numenorians have kept. She needs access to their library. Why? Because the script says she has to, basically. And it's it's at that point that she eventually, that Mark of Sauron thing that she saw on the Icy Tomb up in the Fortress of Solitude in the first episode, and nobody could figure out what this thing meant. Well, it turns out if you turn it on its side, it becomes like a perfect map of Moria, or whatever they call it in this, the Southlands. And that's when she's like, "Oh my God, the answer was in front of me the whole time. How could I not have seen this?" And pretty much everyone who's got access to a map is like, "Yeah, how didn't you see it? You're supposed to be like smart as fuck. You're like thousands of years old. We're children compared to you, and we figured it out." But yeah, a character, as I say, is only ever as smart as their writer. So that's her. She's on a quest to get back to Middle Earth now because they need to get back to Mordor, where all this shit's going down. That's where all the orcs are going. That's Sauron's instructions to them. The orcs have got to head to Mordor, and that's where they're going to have a big rave party and take over Middle Earth. So she's got to put a stop to this. Meanwhile, not Sauron is having a few drinks and oysters at a bar somewhere. It looks tidy as fuck. But then a bunch of assholes get in his face because they don't like him. And so he buys them a bunch of drinks, and so that he can steal one of their guild badges that lets him become like a blacksmith because he really wants to forge metal. Whatever could that mean? I wonder. He's really into making metal things. Just let that sink in for a second. Anyway, to do it, you need to get a guild badge, and so he steals one from someone, but then they corner him in an alleyway, and so he beats the absolute shit out of them with almost superhuman strength, you might say. Whatever could this show be telling us? So anyway, he gets bound up in prison, but then Galadriel discovers that he's actually the exiled king of the Southerners, and he's like, yeah, but my great-great-grandfather sided with Morgoth, so we're like the bad guys. And she's like, I don't care. I want to take you back so you can unite the Southern tribes and fight the orcs. Never mind that the Southern tribes are probably loyal to the orcs, but whatever. Galadriel has another attack of the Galloping Stupids and thinks that she can use this guy to further her cause. So, yeah, good luck with that, love. Meanwhile, Don Lemon has been captured by the orcs, and they are using human captives, prisoners, to dig a bunch of tunnels throughout Mordor. Why? Don't know, but they don't like sunlight, obviously. And I always thought the orcs just didn't particularly like it. You know, it wasn't that it would damage them or anything. It's just they found it, like, unpleasant to be in. But no, these ones are like fucking vampires. Like, if the sunlight hits them, they're like burning instantly. So they have to wear like big heavy cloaks and shit to get around. And that's why they're using human slave labor to build all these underground tunnels for them. But anyway, Don Lemon hooks up with a bunch of other elves, and they plot an escape plan, which is basically just break their chains and get the fuck out of there. But it all goes wrong, and most of them get killed, and Don Lemon gets captured and brought before the leader of the orcs because, you know, you wouldn't just kill him. Obviously, he's got his plot armor on, so he's fine. Everyone else gets killed. That's basically his story. It's like an entire episode of time wasting from his point of view. It's just keeping him in one place, really, and doesn't really reveal much until the very last seconds of the episode where you see the leader of the orcs, but he's still, like, out of focus because the plot demands it. So I guess you're meant to think that that's Sauron, but clearly it's not going to be because I think we know who the real Sauron is. And the last plot thread is all about the fucking Harfoots. And that episode reveals them to be complete fucking psychopaths. So they're all these, you know, they're portrayed as these like happy-go-lucky, jolly Irish folk, you know, who just have a good laugh about anything. But they migrate every autumn, and when it's time to migrate, if you happen to fall behind during the migration, you can't keep up, like maybe you're sick or you're injured or whatever, they just fucking leave you behind to die, which is lovely. Which is weird because, like, in the trailer, it talks about how they look out for each other and they protect each other. Like, they don't do jack shit for each other, man. If you're too slow to keep up, you're done. So yeah, they seem like absolute psychopaths. But anyway, what can we call her? Female Frodo is keeping not Gandalf a secret from the others, but then he like basically blunders straight into the camp, and her secret's out, and she's almost going to get exiled. But then Lenny Henry's like, nah, just go easy on her because she's stupid or whatever. I don't know, maybe she is retarded, and so they're allowed to just like carry on, I suppose. And nothing's really done about not Gandalf. He's just kind of left to his own devices, and so they take him with him, and he ends up pulling their cart for them. Still don't know who this guy's meant to be. You don't really get any information from him. He can only say one word, which is friend. It's the most it's the most goofy, cliched shit. Oh Christ, yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Yeah, the Queen of Numenor. Yeah, she is kind of an asshole towards the people that she deals with. She talks to Elendil, and it's like, why did you rescue this woman from the ocean? And he's like, because she was dying, and it seemed like the sensible thing to do. And so, yeah, she's like, no, I don't like this. You could almost get executed for this shit. But then she promotes him anyway. So, yeah, okay. And yeah, you find out right at the end that she was expecting the arrival of Galadriel. So this is apparently something that was expected for a long time, but we don't know why. So they're obviously trying to set up a lot of mystery boxes that we can't wait to not open. So this episode is a lot of just spinning of the wheels. The only plot thread that really matters is the Numenorian stuff. And it's really just there to establish Numenor as a location and show you some of the characters. Oh yeah, Isildur is in it as well. Now, you might remember him as a mighty hero who defeated Sauron in Fellowship of the Ring, and ended up claiming the ring for his own. Here, he's just an absolute fucking skinny dweeb. He's the most, like, I don't know how you describe him. He just looks like a kind of emo teenager from today. He's skinny. He's got like kind of long, straggly hair. He doesn't know quite what he wants to do with his life. He's supposed to join the Navy, but he's like, nah, I don't want to do that. And he's like got issues with his dad. Of course he fucking does. And yeah, he's got a sister as well. Of course he's got a sister who is supremely talented and has been accepted to become like an architect. Because it was really important to establish that she can do things too. So, yeah, that is what we've got. And there's a bit with Isildur, right, where he's doing like sea trials with the Navy. He's out on a fast ship, and they're doing loads of like rope work and all that shit with the rigging. And he looks off towards Numenor, and he hears this voice whispering, "Isildur." Like, okay, guys, can you hammer it home any heavier? That this is going to be the guy who gets seduced by the power of the ring one day. You might as well have had it go, beware the ring. Yeah, it's it's some shit, man. This is a frustrating show because it feels like so many of the episodes and so much of the runtime is just killing time. Keeping characters in one area for a certain amount of time just to get to the end of the episode, giving them some arbitrary problem to overcome or things to do that just keep them held in place. And it doesn't really do anything productive in terms of advancing the story. Yeah. So that's kind of where we're at. The elves still don't look anything like actual elves. Like, they all look just like regular people that have been given pointy ears. I love the fact that they've just given up completely on this shit. Numenor is the most diverse place on Earth because, of course, it is. And even the the Harfoots, they've got like they got black people, they got white people, they've got Asian people. Everyone's mixed in. No explanation for how such a small nomadic tribe would have such a massive ethnic mix of people. Doesn't matter. Don't think about it. That's just how it is now. Of course. I better watch what I say though, because Amazon, according to them, like you're all racists if you criticize them. So there it is. Just consume the product, everyone, and get excited for next week's product, because that's pretty much where we're at. The Morb of Power. Holy shit, man! Yeah, I'm morbed pretty hard in this episode. Let me tell you. Slakeling Galadriel. Yeah, like I said before, man. Honestly. Her tactic to win over people that she really needs to their help from, she needs to get people's cooperation. Her favorite tactic is to be a complete bitch towards them and be as arrogant and condescending as possible. Yeah, I mean, it's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for her. What else have we got here? I'm just seeing the chat, what people are saying. Yeah. Black Galadriel can't even change her own flat tire. You take that back, you toxic male. How dare you, Chad? They made it racist by immediately marginalizing the black elf. They do put him in chains and leg irons. I'm sure there's some kind of symbolism involved there. Couldn't imagine what they might be referring to, of course. Yeah, here we are. What a crazy time we live in. A George R.R. Martin property is demolishing a J.R.R. Tolkien one. Yeah, let's be clear about one thing. This is not a J.R.R. Tolkien property. This is a derivative work by a whole other company that used his world as some kind of backdrop for it. That's all this is. At least, House of the Dragon, it's got the blessing and the input of the actual author of that world. And so probably that's the reason it's doing quite well. I mean, what I've seen so far, pretty fucking good. Not going to lie. And who would have thought, after the disaster of Game of Thrones ending, that it would be back on top again against something like Lord of the Rings. Crazy shit, man. Like you say, it's crazy days we live in. What can I say? What? Do I look like Andrew Tate, do I? Wait, it's because of the glasses. I need to take them off. I'm not as muscly as him, that's for sure. And I'm not quite as unhinged as him either. So, yeah. Next, I'm just looking through the chat as it goes by here. There's a lot. That thumbnail. What a strange way to use a bow. Yeah, he's using it gangster style, man. What can I say? Yeah, House of the Dragon, it doesn't quite hit like Game of Thrones. That is true. Yeah, it doesn't measure up to Game of Thrones in its prime, but it's miles better than the last few seasons, and it's miles better than Rings of Power. So, man, sometimes it does feel like it's all kind of relative. That's the sad reality, and I don't want it to be like that. I don't want to be in this position where I'm saying like, well, it wasn't fucking terrible, so that's the best of a bad bunch, But there we are. This isn't a J.R.R. Tolkien. This is J.R.R. Abrams and bad reboot. That's really what it feels like. This show really feels like this is what would happen if J.J. Abrams had been allowed to direct like the Lord of the Rings. You know what I mean? It's got that feel to it where everything's a mystery box. Everything's trying to keep you in suspense and string the paper thin plot out. The characters are just they're not really fleshed out people. They're just proxies for whatever cause the writers want to champion. And man, the acting is not good. Like I say, probably the only person I think did a really good job in this episode was Elendil. And he's played by, I think, a Scottish actor. I remember him from being in a bunch of like British dramas and stuff from like 10, 15 years ago. He is properly fucking good. And he actually gives this character a little bit of dignity and a little bit of backbone. Holy shit. Yeah, it's like, a man who actually acts like a bit of a man in this show. I didn't think that would ever be allowed in this day and age, but there it is. It actually happens. There's a funny scene as well where Galadriel she's been taken to this library that's full of like the elven archives and stuff that she needs. And she looks up at him. She's like, "Thank you for bringing me to this place." But she's still got a fucking scowl on her face. It's like the actress can't even do a smile in that scene. She's still got to be an asshole even then when she's thanking him. Oh, man. Yeah, Halbrand is shit. Not gonna lie, he was kind of cool when he was first introduced, and you thought, he seemed like kind of a, I'm out for number one kind of mercenary type who was willing to cooperate with Galadriel because it served his purposes. But oh man, the more I see of him, the less I like him. Now he's just starting to come across as kind of a cardboard cutout of a character. And it's very, very obvious what they're trying to do with him. These little moments where he suddenly gets like a dark, attitude come over him, and it's like, oh, wonder if he could be hiding something. Yeah. It's the Brie Larson School of Acting. Keep your bitch sitting on 11. That's it. Yeah. The Captain Marvel approach. I don't. You think she would be smart enough to know, like, these people saved my life, and I should probably try and win over their cooperation rather than just being a total dick towards them. But nah, it never occurs to her. Weird stuff. There you go. There's the question. Why doesn't she just swim home from Numenor? Because apparently that was her plan in the first place when she jumped off that ship. It's really funny as well because, you get that Indiana Jones map thing where every time the show changes location, it goes to the map, scrolls across to wherever the action is heading next, and you get to see how far the distances are. And honestly, it's insane. It's like thousands of miles from Numenor to Middle-earth. And she was planning to swim that whole way. What a retard. This show, man. This fucking show. I should probably answer a few of the super chats that have come in here just while I've been ranting away. Man. I know Friday Night Sights is going to lay into this shortly. But yeah, I wanted to offer up a few thoughts beforehand. They will tear out a new one, though. But anyway, from the super chats here, Joey Fouts says, I think the writers of Rings of Power were inspired by Robin Hood Men in Tights when he jumps into the ocean and swims back to England, which was apparently Galadriel's plan. That's it, yeah. She was just going to swim back across the sundering seas all the way back to Middle-earth. Good luck to you, girl. Railflit says the dialogue in this show rivals that of a Yui Ball film. I think you're being unkind to Yui Ball at this point. It's bad, really bad. Geek Factor says, can't stay due to spoilers, but I wanted to say hi. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I spoiled the whole thing, man. Starting Dark Harvest on Audible, and so far I'm hooked. Thanks for everything. I'm going away now. No, please stay. But yeah, thank you very much for the donation, mate. Appreciate it. Athenian says, I know this is off topic, but did you ever watch The Queen's Gambit, and what did you think? Yes, I did watch it, and I enjoyed it. It was great performance by... what's her name? I want to say Anya, but it's not. Anya Taylor-Joy. Yeah. So she's kind of a chess prodigy who, the reason she's so good at it is because she's got loads of mental health issues, and the medication that she takes allows her to see the game in a million different ways that a normal mind couldn't comprehend. But she's always on the verge of lapsing into withdrawal and kind of psychosis. So it's almost like a drug addict trying to perform at the absolute top of their game while wrestling with their addiction. So it's an interesting thing, and it doesn't play into the whole she's a woman trying to make it in a man's world kind of thing. It doesn't really make a big deal out of that, which is great, because chess isn't exactly known for its its amazing female grandmasters. I don't think there's ever been any, really. But she's kind of the first. But it's a good show, and I do recommend it. Great performances by Anya Taylor-Joy, like I say. Also, he said, by the way, Rings of Power is bad so far. Very boring, and whenever a character speaks, it's just cringe. It really is, yeah. Fucking terrible dialogue. Excellent Gaming says, what do you think Hollywood will learn from this? Probably nothing. They don't seem to learn very quickly, to be honest, so I wouldn't expect much. Unhinged says, wouldn't you rather do a happy hour with Az reviewing Hot Rod than watch Rings of Dollar? I absolutely would, yeah, and we will do that. But, you know, I kind of almost want to chronicle my experience of watching this show, like give my thoughts on each episode as I go, just so, you know, who knows? Maybe it's going to turn around. Maybe this show is going to suddenly become amazing, and I'm going to like completely change my tune. In which case, it'll be fun to watch that happen. But don't think it will. But either way, you know, I just want to offer up my opinion of it and what works and what doesn't. And I do try to find things that work. Like I say, with the first few episodes, or the first two, I was at least intrigued by the stuff going on in the Southlands. So I don't know, maybe we'll get more of that. As it stands, the Don Lemon stuff with him being captured is not particularly interesting. Joey Foots says, also the Harfoots joke about banging each other in public like homeless people and leaving disabled for dead when they can't keep up. These writers are completely tone deaf. Yeah, like I say, it's really sinister shit, man. And yeah, like fucking each other in public. Like, what do you think this is, San Francisco? Jesus Christ. Yeah, they don't give a shit, man. It's a weird. It's funny when they try to portray like really sinister shit in a like happy clappy, you know, everything's a big old laugh kind of way. Bad stuff. There's a bit as well where Lenny Henry, and I'm just going to call him Lenny Henry because that's all he is in this show. Reads from like the Book of Remembrance, so it's all the people that they left behind to die, and it's meant to be a touching scene, but it's actually horrific. But then he talks about one guy who got stung to death by bees, and they all have a good laugh about it. You know, most people would consider that a horrific way to die, getting stung to death, but they all just think it's really funny. So yeah, proper psychopaths that wrote this, I think. Luis Suevas says, streaming a little close to Friday Night Tights. Very brave. Yeah, indeed. I mean, I'll probably be finishing up just as they're starting because I don't imagine this will go much beyond an hour or so. But yeah, I'm not going to try and compete with them. Holy shit, they're big. But yeah, it's they're usually pretty late starting as well, so I should be all right. Mike H says, Hail Critical Drinker. Thank you very much, man. Cheers. Justin Stahl says, I think the Rings of Power writers need a parody book called Tell, Don't Show, and never realized it, and that's how they tell a story. Yeah, everyone has to straight up just tell you their feelings, their emotions, their motivations, all of it. Because, you know, we can't be left in any doubt about what's going on. Desert Fisherman says, I'll be in the UK next week. IMK, if you want to grab a pint and or introduce me to Tatiana. You stay away from Tatiana. She's mine. But I hope you enjoy your time in the UK, man. It is a rather large country, so I'm not sure which part you're going to be in, but there's lots of interesting bits to see anyway. Master Malrubius says, Friday Night Tights is king, but Critical Drinker is kingier. Hey, I'm kingier than them. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be on Friday Night Tights actually in a couple of weeks, so I'm looking forward to that. Alexander Stross says, thank you for watching this crap and not me. Sorry, the booze certainly is less damaging. God bless you. That's it. I mean, the thing is, I'm getting exposed to the booze and the show, so fuck, man. I don't know if I'm going to make it to the end. Definitely not going to make it through She-Hulk. That's garbage. Kevin O'Neill says, Drinker, go tell the Critical Doggo that she's a good girl. All right, well, this one here, this Critical Doggo is a boy, actually, and that's Critical Doggo Mark II, but I'll tell him he's a good boy. Hey, Smokey, who's a good boy? You are. Give us a tail wag. Go on. You going to do it? All right, I'll keep an eye on you. He did wag his tail there. I think I might have been in the way, so you probably couldn't see it. But he's happy. The microphone's in the way of him. There you go. Now you can see him. He's got his football. He's a happy doggo. The other one is hanging off the edge of the couch behind me, if you can see her. There. Yeah, they're pretty happy. They're just going to lie here for the rest of the stream and fart away because they've had their dinner. And fucking hell, 2 greyhounds in our room farting. It's grim, man. I'm not going to lie. That's why I might turn green at some point. Wayland Pacific says, you know, John Wayne's real name was Marion Morrison. Yes, I did know that, actually. Yeah, Marion. Who names their boy Marion? Assholes, that's who. But yeah, I think John Wayne was a pretty good stage name, so I'll give him that. Nobody from Nowhere says that would be an ecumenical matter. It would indeed, yeah. That's right, Father Jack. Ollie Hand says, hi, are you doing a video on Cobra Kai Season 5? Yes, I will. What I'll probably do is get through all of it and then do a happy hour talking about it, because I know I've got a few patrons and stuff who fucking love Cobra Kai. I know there's a few other YouTubers like Geeks and Gamers. Jeremy's properly into it as well, so it would be good to do a happy hour on it once we get to the end. Sorry, Donkey Bite says, my next conspiracy theory is that House of the Dragons end up saving Rings of Power later seasons not yet filmed. It could happen. Crossover of the century, who knows? Marcus Hoglund gave me a cool super sticker, so thanks, man. Ryan says, hey, Drinker, loved the new book. Really enjoyed it. Excellent. Yeah, I'm glad everyone seems to be enjoying Dark Harvest, so that's all good, man. Donkey Bite says, hobbits are known for their thug life mentality. Yeah, hobbits don't give a shit, man. They're proper brutal. I'm just looking at the chat here. Oh yeah, here we go. What's a wine that you'd recommend to get plastered before going out? Now, if it comes to wines, right, I prefer a Pinot Grigio if it's going to be a white wine. Now, I usually have that if I'm eating food rather than before I go out, because like wine just makes you sleepy. That's the downside to it. But Pinot Grigio offers the nice balance of like dryness and sweetness and stuff. So yeah, it's not a bad combination. So that would be my wine of choice for meals and such like, because you know, a gentleman should have wine with a meal, not beer. That's just uncouth. But yeah, beer is for thirst quenching, wine's for having meals, and whiskey's for later. That's my plan. Next one is DS, who says, Drinker, you sound more amused than angry by this show. I call it, it's so bad it's making me delirious phase of watching crap. I think so, man. Honestly, like, you know, we talked about this on the stream yesterday. You know, it's a bit of a sad time in Britain and stuff, and things like that just bring home that, you know, there's more important shit in life than talking about TV shows. But when it comes to stuff like this, just have a laugh and make fun of it. That's my advice. I'm almost beyond like getting mad about things now. It's just a case of sit back, watch the world burn, have a beer, and just make fun of it. That's it. And modern entertainment, man, has broke me. Marco Key says, so it's Azil douche, not Azil door. Yeah, exactly. He's more like Azil don't. I'm sure he wants to like give up the life of the military and stuff and become an artist or something. You know, it's got to be something really effeminate and bullshitty. And he's only like reluctantly drawn into this, probably because of Galadriel, who convinces him that he needs to be a hero or something like that. Like everything's going to have to be brought back to her, or diverse queen, someone, whatever her name is. Giles Lloyd says, could Halbrand be a king? Could Halbrand not be a king of men that turns into a ringwraith? The Witch King of Angmar, maybe. I mean, potentially he could, yeah. Like we don't really know much about where they came from, but like the forging of the rings and then the one ring, I think that's going to be quite some time away. And so, yeah, I'm not sure if they're going to take that direction with him. It's an interesting thought, but then where did the other 8 come from? You know? Claudia Rogojan says, you ever thought about your own demise? Lol. All the time. In fact, I'm planning for it. God damn it, Napa says, Galadriel's lines remind me of doing an evil playthrough of an old RPG with dialogue options where you had generic good, evil, and neutral options. Yeah, exactly. She kind of always picks the wrong thing to say in every situation. Bilbo T. Baggins says, let's be real here. The orcs being white is no accident. And if they're not a prequel to Lord of the Rings, why is the Balrog a carbon copy of Durin's Bane? The orcs being white, I can sort of understand in the sense that they can't be exposed to sunlight. So you could probably make that point. But at this point, maybe I'm crediting the showrunners with too much intelligence there. It could well be, they just wanted those white slavers. Who knows? John Smith says, have you ever talked about Wheel of Time? Not really, because I just don't know anything about it. So I wouldn't be a person that's qualified to talk about it. Do I think the series got better with this third episode? Not really. I think it's still hovering around like bad to mediocre. That's about the best I can say about it. Yeah, the frustration comes in when they're spinning their wheels so much, and the dialogue is not getting any better. And Gary raised an interesting point last night where he said that really the first couple of episodes were meant to be the best because they were trying to open strong with this, and after that it's going to be downhill. So I don't know, man. I wouldn't expect things like the dialogue and the characters to get better, that's for sure. Yeah, I just watched RRR. Thanks for the recommend. Good. It's a really good movie. It's good fun. I'm glad people are finding it and enjoying it. Yeah. Could it get any worse after the first two horrific episodes? Yes, it can always get worse. That's what I've discovered from, well, the Marvel TV shows. No matter how terrible it is, it can always be worse. Post Captain Aubrey says the lack of diversity in the Third Age brings up a huge question mark of possible racial war or genocide between the Second and Third Ages. Yeah, it's really interesting that. Honestly, I wouldn't put it past Amazon to somehow buy up the rights to the Lord of the Rings movies and start color grading characters to make them black. I mean, I joke, but I would not put it past them to use that as a justification for like, well, we've got to explain it somehow. It was just always like that, and because no one has physical media anymore, and it's all just downloadable, you'll have no option but to have this new version of it that's been improved for modern audiences. Give it time; it'll happen, guarantee it. Andrew Montpetit says, thank God we have the perfection of the original trilogy. Can you imagine if they made it now instead of back then? Well, I guess that kind of ties into my point that I made there, in that, well, if you don't have physical copies of it on Blu-ray or DVD, watch out, because they might just go ahead and start editing it to make it more acceptable for modern audiences. Yes, this show has no heartbeat. I think that's probably a good way of saying it. There doesn't feel like there's an emotional heart to it, and a core of like real artistic creativity driving it forwards. It just feels like a show that was made because they were told to make it, and that's not a good way to draw people in, man. Waylon Bucephus says, so I hear we're all racist now. I hear you're a racist now, Father. Is that what you advocate for the rest of us? Apparently we all are. If we criticize the show in any way, then we're all racist. So that's the way of it. Claudio Rogojan says, would you ever have other comic writers on VIP Lounge? Absolutely, yeah. Be interesting to talk to them. I was very lucky to get Mark Miller on for it. He was a great guy, and we got absolutely drunk together and loved it. So yeah, if there's others out there, it'd be interesting to have them on, man. Yeah, Father Ted. Go and watch Father Ted, everyone. It's fucking great. If you've never seen it, you will love it. Guarantee that. Rip Snorter says, that scene with Galadriel on horseback honestly belongs in a Lloyd's Bank commercial. Yes, it really fucking does. Or like Scottish Widows or something. Yeah, just fucking slow motion. What were they doing? It's just like, we've got to fill up some screen time, I guess. Lee T says, just finished reading Dark Harvest. Really enjoyed it. Thanks, Drinker. Excellent. I'm loving all the Dark Harvest appreciation here. Yeah, I've got, well, I don't want to say too much at this point, right? Because there'll be more announcements coming in the near future, but I've got some interesting stuff coming up. You know how I always criticize movies and stuff, and well, it's my job, obviously. And I want to be someone who walks the walk as well and doesn't just talk the talk. And so I've got a few projects coming up that should hopefully be pretty interesting, and me starting to dip my toes into doing stuff like this. So I'll leave it for now and won't say too much more, but yeah, I'm looking forward to making some interesting announcements over the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, so let me just catch up with the super chats here. Yeah, here we go. So Nendroid Dancing says, diversity loves to be dumped into Mount Doom. Yeah, let it erupt and then throw it in, because It's just forced diversity in this case, man. I mean, in the normal scheme of things, having a diverse cast is a great thing, but you can't make it work in every scenario. And this is like a perfect situation where it's not meant to be like that. Jaffer Hansen, sorry, or Hassan says, "Have you watched Mindhunter?" I haven't watched Mindhunter, I'm afraid, so I don't know, mate. Mr. Bleeshim says, "Any plans to review the Raid movies on the future? Gareth Evans is severely underrated." Yes, both Raid movies are absolutely fantastic. Love them. Can't wait to do reviews on them. It's not like I even have much of a plot summary I'll need to give. It's like with the first one, a bunch of cops get locked in a building with loads of people who want to kill them, and they have to fight their way out. That's it. That's pretty much the plot of Dread, and it's the plot of the Raid, and it's all about the fight scenes, but they are just glorious. I also think I might love Mad Dog as a character. I think he's great. Prank Sinatra says, "Instead of releasing Rings of Power on Tolkien's death day, Amazon should have released it on his wedding day to honor him and the woman who inspired him to create Galadriel, one of the MCs in the Prime series. Much better PR." Yeah, there you go. There seems to be something ominous about releasing this on his death day. Like, that's weird. Don't like that at all. Fatness Neverlean says, "Thanks for your critical input, Drinker. Keep it up." Thank you. I will, man. Rory C says, "What's in the bottle?" That slow-mo shot of riding the horse was ridiculous. It really was, yeah. But yeah, this bottle, it's Pinot Grigio, like I was talking about earlier. So I've got some wine ready to go. And that's it. I'm classing it up tonight. I mean, I'm not going to ludicrous extremes of drinking it from a glass or anything. You know, it's more efficient to drink it from the bottle because this way I don't have to wash it up afterwards. But yeah, and it's easier to get to. So yeah, all good stuff. Unmute Tab says, "Drinking game shot every time a bumper sticker line is spoken. Are you in?" Yeah, man. This is all just trailer dialogue. It is everywhere throughout this, and it never ties into like what's going on. Lucknav Livox says, "On a scale of 1 to I don't like She-Hulk, how misogynist are you?" I'd say I'm a solid 8, virgin on 9, probably. Depends on what kind of day it is and how bad my mood is. But yeah, a good 8, I think, in the misogyny scale. The Vespa guy says, "In my opinion, it isn't necessarily about accuracy, it's about authenticity. That is what they don't understand with all these new shows and movies." That's it. I mean, you can't suspend your disbelief if you're just seeing the personal gripes and hang-ups of the writers projected onto screen, man. Jonathan Thill says, "Drinker, I hope you can link up with R.C. Bray on a future audiobook. I need to check out Dark Harvest." I mean, I'll try, man. There's a lot of people out there working on this stuff. Mr. Steve 170 says, "Thanks to everyone who watched this and criticized. I'm not watching it because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Read the books if you haven't already." Yes, read the Lord of the Rings books. You will love them. If you're in any way into fantasy, it's, well, they're like the quintessential fantasy books. Like, there's not much I can say about them at this point. Yay, hold on. Beers are your thing. Try Caesar Augustus. Oh, no, I thought this was it. This is Ossian, but yeah, Caesar Augustus is one of the beers that I was drinking last night. It's an IPA, and it's really good. Yeah, got no complaints about that stuff. Next one is EMC Dunna says, "Using a bow that way is the Native American style." Oh, okay, didn't know it, but there you go. Bit of education for all of us. Joe C says, "I'm damning Rings with indifference and not watching. Thanks for taking one for the team and sitting through it." Yeah, man. I mean, between this and She-Hulk, it may actually finish me off, and I'm going to just retire from YouTube. It's like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. Easy E says, "The show could turn it around and cure Jeff Bezos' baldness, and then everybody claps." Yeah, I'm not holding my breath. Godspeed to you, Drinker. Thank you, man. I will do my best to get through this. And the thing is, you think Jeff Bezos could either afford a wig or just like, what do they do? Like hair replacement stuff where they like, they take samples of hair from your ass cheeks or something and like plaster it onto your head. You know, if you're like the richest man in the world, almost like you probably afford something like that, or just like harvest hair from like other human beings and put it on your own head. Now he just looks like Lex Luthor, man. It's weird. Michael C says, "Sup, Drinker. I hope you're doing well." Well, I'm watching Rings of Power, so not really. But thanks for asking. On your next trip over to the US, do you know where you're going to be? Well, I was going to potentially be at New York Comic Con, but basically they can't fit me in. Yeah, we talked with the organizers. They want to get me for like a show, hopefully the next one, but it's kind of too short notice. They are packed out with guests and they just couldn't get me in for it. So sadly, I won't be there for that one. But I'm working with people who basically get me booked in for shows. So when I've got more dates to announce, I absolutely will. But yeah, you will definitely be seeing me at more Comic-Cons in the States because I had a great experience at Tampa. And what can I say? I want to do more of them. Next one is Aibo says, one, invest companies are pushing diversity. The more diverse a product, the more they'll invest. And two, we had some like this in the 90s. Pure action movies were transformed into action comedy, romantic dramas. Yeah, I mean, I have heard a lot about the ESG scores and stuff for studios and stuff, and I can believe that it's a thing. Waylon Bicephas says, my uncle trains and breeds greyhounds for hunting, so he usually has 50 to 75 greyhounds all at once. Need another dog. Sadly, no, 2 is more than enough to keep me going, especially this fucker right here, because he goes against all the ethos of greyhounds where they're supposed to just sleep all the time. And I know he's doing it now because he's had his dinner, but yeah, the moment you move and stand up and go to leave the room, he follows you and he wants to play all the time. So yeah, that keeps me busy, man. But yeah, they're apparently a lot of the greyhound rescue places that put them up for adoption after they're finished their racing careers, they're all packed out at the moment because people can't take on new pets. Like everything's too expensive now. The cost of living's like skyrocketed in the UK, probably in America too. And the idea of taking on pets is just beyond a lot of people, and it's a real shame, man. But there you go. Matt Deckard says, God save the king. That's a weird thing now to think. You know, like now it's going to be like when we sing the national anthem, it's like God save the king, or like when you have HMS whatever, like ship, it's going to be His Majesty's ship, not hers. Like, yeah, it's been a queen my entire life, and now we've got a king. It feels like a weird change. But there it is. I guess that's what happens. Lobocop 69 says, watched the first episode of Cobra Kai, great, but being robbed in Mexico by an American hobo surfer dude was a bit on the nose. Yeah, don't spoil it for me, man. I haven't seen it yet. Quinn Thompson says, hey, drinker, longtime fan. I'm just on the 3rd Ryan Dre book, really enjoying it. Have you ever thought about doing critics of people's writing to help them improve their work? Cheers, bud. I mean, I'd love to help with stuff like that. I've done screenplays and things to help out with them, but yeah, reviewing an entire novel, it's too much of a time commitment, sadly. I'm just not able to help out with stuff like that, much as I would like to. Dragos M says, drinker, if I understand correctly, you were in IT, same as me. How did you manage to write and keep a 9-to-5 job that uses brain power? I feel drained after work and I find it difficult to write. My secret was to not work very hard. So, yeah, I didn't use up too much of my brain power in my actual day-to-day job, and then I could save it all for writing. So the company that I worked for, especially towards the end, not long before I left, was so decentralized that my boss, I was based up in Scotland. My fucking line manager was in London. And so they never saw me day to day and they had no clue what I was working on. So essentially I would get like an update call once a month just to say, oh, hey, how are you getting on? Fine. Yeah. Everything's great. And then he'd be like, cool. Well, I'm convinced. See you next month. Zero fucks given there. It was great. You could just, you could get away with practically anything, man. But yeah, it was, you know, joking aside, like it was a bit of a hectic time before I left my job. Like I was, at one point, I was working 4 days a week, I think, at that point, because I'd reduced my hours at least. And I was writing a novel that I was getting edited and stuff and trying to finish up. And I was making YouTube videos because my YouTube channel was just exploding at that point. So, yeah, 3 different things that I was trying to do simultaneously. And yeah, there was not really enough hours in the day and something had to give. And I was very glad to be able to leave my job and just focus on the stuff that I really enjoyed. But hey, you know, I'm very lucky to be able to do that shit. So I'm under no illusions that that's, you know, a bad problem to have. It was just, yeah, it was good to be able to cut down my commitments a little bit. Next one is Huron the Steadfast, who says, I was hoping Rings of Power was either so good that it would compete with Game of Thrones earlier seasons, or so bad that it would compete with Batwoman. I think this series will beat the Star Wars prequels in being more memeable. I think so, yeah. I think a lot of it comes down to just the fan antagonism towards this show now. It's got such a negative atmosphere hanging around it that people are just looking for it to put a foot wrong. You know what I mean? Like if it hadn't done all this terrible like press and advertising in the run up to it launching, I think people would have been a bit more forgiving towards it and maybe might have given it more of a chance. But now it's almost like people are just looking for any mistake or any problem to just pounce on it. And well, to some extent, Amazon have brought this on themselves. They chose to make the casting completely out of sync with the lore. They chose to break a lot of the established world building and stuff. They did this, and so they're reaping the rewards now, I suppose. Next one from, I can't even say this, Bashishtwilik says, when are you drinking next up in Dundee? Any pub Q&A coming up? It's been a while since I've been out in Dundee, man. Yeah, the last time I was up there, right, was... What the fuck? Sorry. Critical Doggo number 1 was making loads of weird noises. Lara, are you still alive? Nah, she didn't move her head. Might be dead. Who knows? It's hard to tell with greyhounds. Yeah, the last time I was up in Dundee was like February, I think. Went out with one of my mates and we just decided, right, tonight, right, instead of drinking beers and then moving on to whiskeys, we're going to do cocktails all night, right? We're just going to try all those weird cocktails that we never bother touching before. And fuck, man, that is the most messed up I've been after a night out, I think, that I can remember. Yeah. Went home, made an extremely bad mess in the bathroom, and then passed out in bed. I couldn't remember how we got home or anything. I'm pretty sure it involved a taxi or something, but yeah, man, that's the danger with cocktails. You don't taste the alcohol, so you just neck them and move straight on to the next one, not knowing how much you're consuming. But Dundee's a good night out. It's a student town, so there's loads of places that are super cheap to drink in. Aid Robertson says, Hail Drinker, first time super chat to your channel. Love your work. Oh, thank you very much, man. Appreciate it. Little Dutch says, I would love to see the Drinker fixes on one of the Transformers movies. I know that they're older releases now, but I still believe that it had more potential than they delivered on. I mean, yeah, I think a lot of that just comes down to them being big, dumb action flicks. I mean, I tried to pick something that had, real potential to begin with. With Transformers, it's all going to come down to big robot smash other big robot. Like, there's not a huge amount I can do with that from a writing point of view. Next question was, Gibberish says, have you watched Strange New Worlds? What do you think? I haven't, nope. And yeah, people have said it's better. It's kind of more in keeping with like the Star Trek ethos. In which case, yeah, fair enough, man. It's just, man, I've been burned with Kurtzman Trek, and I don't want to watch it now. It's put me off to the point where I don't want to watch anything that company's made, and I'm off it, and it's hard to think about like getting back into that sort of thing. Kellador says, why certain Halbrand equals Sauron and not a ring wraith? Not certain. I mean, it's possible that it's going to become like the Witch King of Angmar or something, although he's not, Angmar's not been mentioned in this so far as a place. But yeah, it just, the rumors that I've heard indicate that he is Sauron, and it seems like a fairly obvious one to have him be, in love with Galadriel, or they've got this kind of relationship. She thinks she can trust him, and then wouldn't you know it, he becomes the very person that she's been hunting all this time. It's trite and it's cliched, but I think that's the kind of mindset of the writers of this show. RB says, I liked when Galadriel went to Numenor, drinker. Yeah. The accents are great, man. Ackles Floozy says, Buenos dias. The new stuff coming out of Hollywood is awful. Sat through DSMOM and proceeded to roast it with the stranger next to me while my clueless 10-year-old loved it. So yeah, Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, garbage. I tried my best to fix it, but it was a mess. John Smith says I think the first two Hobbits weren't that bad. I mean, you might be in the minority there, mate. I mean, I'm glad you enjoyed them, but they were such a fucking step down from the Lord of the Rings. Omar Kaj says, "Hey Drinker, as a writer, what do you recommend one goes about pitching a new book at a live event, from the plot to characters via slideshow? I might get shortlisted at the next Lagos Comic Con." I don't know how you would pitch a novel as like a sort of PowerPoint presentation, man. Never had to do something like that in my life. It's always been via email and cover letters, that sort of thing. Yeah, I don't know. I guess you want to make it as engaging as possible, not too gimmicky. Just kind of present yourself as like a guy who's trying to do his best to tell a really good story, and hopefully people will buy into it. But yeah, I wish I could give you better advice, but I've never been in that kind of situation. Scott Fisher says, "Have you ever watched Miami Vice? The movie or the TV show?" I mean, I've watched a bit of the TV show from back in the day, but yeah, not really like into it or anything. I'm not an expert at all. Fred Sacco says, "Hey Drinker, have you ever considered reviewing Blake 7, way ahead of its time sci-fi series?" Yeah, shit, man, that show had a bleak ending, didn't it? Yeah, it's one of those things that was on occasionally when I was a kid, and I think I watched episodes from time to time with my dad. But yeah, that you're talking like 25, 30 years ago at this point, so I would really need to go back and revisit it, I think. I do remember liking it at the time, though. Stefan Moore says, "Maybe they'll try to save Rings of Power with a Middle-earth twerking session." I mean, I say go for it, yeah. I don't know if Galadriel's got much that she can shake, but Queen Miriel seems like she'd be up for it, so give her a go. Master Malrabius says, "Drinker, have you seen Tumbad? It's a horror movie from India, one which I found truly spooky." No, I haven't actually, but I'm interested to see what Indians would consider terrifying, and how they compare to like Western horror movies. Could be good, man. Yeah, CSI Middle Earth. That's what we got. Yeah, that's fair enough. You like the Hobbit movies? Well, I'm glad people did. I'm sorry that. Well, I do have to watch it. I don't really do it for views, but it's almost like a car crash that you can't look away from. Fusion Evo 1 says, "Man, Drinker, that would be a lot of blackface." I'm not sure what we're referring to there. Movies with Ghostface says, "Hi, Drinker, a bit off topic, but a few months ago I made a video about Disney destroying Darth Vader, and I got you to cameo in it. I hope you can check it out sometime, and I hope that you'll love it." Yeah, I did a little cameo for you on that one. So yeah, Movies with Ghostface. Give it a look. And yeah, if you tell people the title of your video, that'll help. Just give me a second here. I'm just refreshing here. Oh yeah, here we go. Miranda Reed says, "Do you do a video on Sandman? It's awful." Or sorry, can you do a video? Yeah, I need to watch it first. I'm kind of caught up between Rings of Power and House of the Dragon and She-Hulk. So between all those things, they're keeping me fairly busy. I don't remember that. They had black people as extras in his movies. I know he had Maori people because he was filming in New Zealand. So he had a few of them as hobbits and stuff like that. Didn't remember seeing any black people in it. I could be wrong, though. Maybe I just didn't look closely enough. Next one is... Yeah. When Numenor sinks, the world goes from being flat to being spherical. I wonder if they will just gloss over that. I think they'll have to. That is... I don't know how you could possibly represent that visually for audiences and have them understand it. Like, what are you going to do? Like, give a view from out in space where it's like a flat planet that just kind of folds itself into a sphere. Yeah, that's probably not going to work. So I think they'll just ignore that. And I don't entirely blame them there. Yeah. Rinker lost a bet. Rings of Power is his punishment. No, She-Hulk's my punishment. Rings of Power is just kind of mediocre shite. That is truly dire. We talked about it last night, and it's like that is like painful to fucking watch. It's like the antithesis of entertainment at this point. Yeah, it is so bad. The next question was Cody Griffin, who says Galadriel, the Chosen One, the Messiah, the Lone Wanderer, the Herald of Change. Every great event in Emmy history has been preceded by her arrival. Keep up the hard work, buddy. By the way, great books. Thank you very much, man. And yeah, when they had to like, there's a bit where there's like, what can I even describe it as? It's like they've got the kind of puppet show going on, and it's like illustrating the history of the defeat of Sauron and Morgoth and stuff, and it's like Galadriel, the scourge of the orcs. I was like, oh fuck, do you have to lay it on this thick? That's how obvious this show is. Marco C says, down with this sort of thing. Exactly, yeah. Careful now. The contextual gamer says, I was so triggered when the women Harfeet were hanging around like hyenas doing no physical labor. Fucking lazy bums. Also, yay, Galadriel doing scrungy faces. Yeah, she's taking her cues from the 13th Doctor right there. Very much the same kind of portrayal. Sinjeets gave me a super sticker for £18, so thank you, man. Callum McFarlane says, hail to the drinker from a fellow Fifer. Yay, thanks, man. Thanks for putting yourself through the Galadriel show so we don't have to. I mean, yeah, I suffer from my art. What can I say? The Critical Australian says, deviation from garbage for a moment. Did you ever watch the Stargate Atlantis and Universe shows? Yeah, so I watched Atlantis and I quite liked it. A little bit derivative, but the premise was quite cool. And it's a very early role for Jason Momoa as well. He was considerably skinnier back then. Universe, I only watched the first few episodes of season 1. Didn't love it that much. It just felt a bit grim and a bit played out, to be honest. So, yeah, wasn't really my thing. But Atlantis was okay. Jeff Peterson says, Amazon succeeded in making the cow with black milk the most interesting character in this show. I want to know what happened to that cow. Was it okay? Did it recover? Helen Hunt's forehead says, Drinker, have you seen the 2017 crowdfunded horror movie The Void? If not, I highly recommend it to all John Carpenter fans and would love to hear you review it. Well, I like the idea, so if it's a John Carpenter style movie, I'm up for it. So October is coming up. It's the time of spooky movies, so I might just have to give it a watch. Next one is Constantine Richards, who says, highly off topic, but any chance you could give your thoughts on Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order? I think it's not a bad game. A lot of people seem to like it. So, I mean, yeah, I just never got into the Star Wars games. I guess they just weren't really my thing. Jürgen Halfhand says, totally serious question here, Drinker. Do you know why a boat floats? Well, the thing is, I thought I did, but then I watched the show and that told me the real reason. And so, yeah, it's because it's looking up at the stars. Someone pointed out as well, though, when they were talking about the moon, isn't that just a giant rock that looks down at Earth? So that should like fall out of the sky by their rationale. So who knows? Physics is a mysterious thing, isn't it? Tobias Widener says, greetings from Switzerland. I couldn't believe how good the Lord of the Rings movies were when Peter Jackson made them. Also can't believe how bad this series is. 2 states of disbelief, but totally different emotions. Love your spirit, the one in the bottle as well. Thank you, man. And yeah, well, these are the times that we live in. It's not the time of creativity. It's the age of, stupidity, I suppose. Stregloff says, have you watched the 4-part Russian War and Peace films by Bondarchuk from the 60s? We definitely recommend the latest Criterion restoration. Cheers. Well, no, yeah. I'm saying no and yeah at the same time because I'm drunk. But those are the kind of movies that I feel like I should be watching now just to like restore my faith in cinema. And I guess draw people's attention back to when films were truly great. So, yeah, give me some time and I will watch them. John Smith says, bring Jordan Peterson on to Happy Hour. Yeah, because I've got a direct line to Jordan Peterson. I can just get him anytime I want. So, yeah, I've just been holding off all this time because, I'm too good for him. Yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting to have a conversation with him if that was ever a possibility. But I suspect I'm a small fry compared to him, man. He's got better things to do. Clarence Price says, woke bingo update. The reboot Hellraiser is coming in October on Hulu and it's a female lead. Wait, a trans female lead. I guess the Pleasure Cube is an even bigger trap than we realize. Fuck that. Yeah, you're not going to improve on Hellraiser, man. That was a definitive horror movie. And yeah, doing a female swapped reboot, whatever, no one's going to be into it. Smith15 says, Drinker, a Kamer a Thathu. Yeah. I don't know what you're saying. Obi-Wan Kenobi says, have you ever tried Czech beer? I can only recommend it, Pilsner especially. Yeah, when I was in Prague, I've been there twice actually. Loved it both times. And yeah, Czech beer is really good. And it's dirt cheap. Absolutely dirt cheap over there. Yeah, it's a good Pilsner. Can't really fault it, man. It hits the spot and it'll get you drunk. What more can you say? Yusuf Swain says, the only reason I watched Moon Knight was because May Calloway starred in my brother's zombie short film back in 2011 called Hasad Al-Mota, a.k.a. Envy the Dead. Well, there you go. That's a nice little bit of trivia right there. So, yeah, I hope she was good in it. Doki Kamuri says, you will own nothing and you will be happy. I'm actually reverting back into sailing the seas like I did as a stupid kid. I don't fucking blame you, man. Yeah, sail those high seas and enjoy it. How do I feel about the Queen's death? I was sad. You know, we started last night a bit somber because it was kind of a serious moment for Britain, I guess, and I didn't want to joke around about it. I just didn't feel like cracking jokes about it and dicking around for once. I thought it'd be a little bit serious, and there it is. You know, it's kind of like the end of an era for us here in the UK, and these things happen, I guess. But yeah, it's still kind of a momentous occasion. Thanks, man. Condolences from across the pond. Yeah, you gotta love the people on Twitter who were like celebrating it. It's like there's bad taste, and then there's being a total cunt, and then there's that. Like that is like a next level. And wow. It takes a special kind of person to take pleasure in something like this, but there you go. There's quite a lot of them on Twitter these days. Just another reason why that platform is fucking cancer. B Buster says, "Are you going to sneak Az into your luggage when you come to the States?" I need to bring him in. Yeah, I think it's about time. I want to do a meetup with Az and Mahler and do some kind of like live stream, not just like different parts of the world or whatever, but like when we're actually there in a studio or something. It would be great fun. Yeah, it would. Hopefully, we can do that sometime. It would be great fun. Yeah. Finally caught a live chat on time. There you go. Yeah. You never quite know when I'm going to do these things, but I like to surprise people. John Smith said, have you ever seen the underrated Kurt Russell movies Unlawful Entry, Executive Decision, and Breakdown, all worth extra shots? So I've seen Executive Decision and Breakdown, and they're both really good movies. Executive Decision is worth it just to see Steven Seagal getting killed. That was meant to be a shocking moment because he was practically invincible up until that point. But yeah, that's a really good movie, actually. I like it. Nice and tense. And David Suchet is great as a terrorist like leader. Never would have picked him for something like that. It's like a guy who spent his career playing Hercule Poirot suddenly was playing like a fucking hardcore Islamic terrorist, but he was great at it. And Breakdown, yeah, that's a really good film. Kurt Russell playing a pretty vulnerable character in that, and I liked it. Jacob Derlitz player 2 says, from one drinker to another, have you ever tried Zafra Master Reserve 21? If not, I can only recommend it as the best rum ever. Keep up the good work. I mean, fair enough. I'd love to try it, man. It's going to have to go some to go up against Boom Boo Rum, which is my favorite. But yeah, I'll give it a try sometime if I can find it. NDG says, step 1, churn out garbage. Step 2, use ist-phobe defense. Step 3, blame fans for negative reception. Did I just describe Star Trek, Kenobi, Mrs. Marvel, She-Hulk, Resident Evil, Cowboy Bebop, or Rings of Power? Well, all of them, obviously. Yeah, it's the standard defense at this point. I think my favorite one was the Charlie's Angels remake, where you had 2 fucking articles by the same publication, like a month apart, and it was like, men, this movie is not for you. And then, like, later, it was like, men are the reason that this movie failed at the box office. Absolutely zero awareness. Love it. The Dutchman said, at Antwerp Comic Con, I talked to the OG actor who played Theoden. I asked about the Rings of Power. He said it's not talking. They only want money and nothing else. He's exactly fucking right, man. And I'm glad he had the balls to say it. What the fuck? Why is my doggo just turned upside down? What are you doing? This is ludicrous, sir. This will not stand. If I had something I could throw at him, I would. Well, I'm not going to throw my bottle of wine at him. Johnny Braska says, but Drinker, you're alliterative ace of aplomb and authenticity. How can you, a proud minority, i.e. Scottish, my condolences, I know it's a disability at this point, have anything bad to say about such a proudly representative show? What can I say, man? I'm a minority here, but I'm not a protected minority, so I don't feel the benefits of that. But there you go. I'm just a purist, I guess, when it comes to talking. Jay Cooley says, just started working on your latest novel, enjoying it so far. I hope you're making a fortune at this. Please never stop doing what you do. Thank you very much. And I was slightly worried that you're having to call it working at my novel. I would hope you would just enjoy it. But yeah, I get what you were saying. Yeah, your doggo's given his opinion on Rings of Power. Oh, I just said it and he fucking died. That was good timing, Smokey. Nice one, man. Yeah, Doggo's dreaming of bones of power. Yeah. Love it. I'll do a couple more and I will probably need to finish up, sadly. Joey M says, do you think that with Queen Elizabeth passing away and being so integral to holding the monarchy together, that the monarchy will start to recede? I mean, possibly, yeah. Charles doesn't have that kind of, like the long built-up loyalty that I guess she had. You know, when you're dealing with someone who was around when Winston Churchill was prime minister, all the way up to the present day, that is a legacy you can't fucking compete with. And yeah, maybe he's going to struggle a little bit. I think it might have been better if it had been passed to William, who's like younger and a bit more in touch with like, you know, normal people. But it is what it is, I guess. There'll be a lot of sympathy initially. I guess we see where it goes from there. Steve Russ says, what is the point of diversity in Lord of the Rings? It's inspired by the European Middle Ages. Europe was white at that time, and at the time when Tolkien wrote the book, now more white people in Wakanda. Yeah, that's never going to happen. That door only swings one way, remember? Donnie Braska says, also, how do you keep up with all these super chats? I mean, I struggle. This is the problem. I end up having to do super chat catch-up streams because they come in quicker than I can answer them. And hell, man, don't get me wrong. That's a good problem to have. But I want to make sure that I never leave them behind. And so I'll do catch-up streams either online or offline where we can get through them all. So on Sunday, Mauler and I will do a catch-up on any of the ones that we missed from Open Bar last night. And yeah, tonight I'll probably have to finish up fairly soon, and I'll do a catch-up stream for any that are left over there, so they all get answered. So, yeah, I don't want anyone to feel that they're getting ignored or anything, because it would piss me off if it happened to me. Jack of all trades says, finally got my wife to watch Prey, Alien, and Aliens. I'm slowly but surely pulling her into the sci-fi genre. Keep crushing. Well, get her to watch Terminator and Terminator 2 and also watch Predator rather than Prey, because that's where you need to be at with sci-fi with her. If she likes them, then she's absolutely a keeper. A Boyo says, were you a developer? My company is also decentralized. Workers have as much telework as they like. No difference in outcome before beer bug times. Yeah, so I wasn't a developer. I did a bit of web design. But it was mostly working with like corporate intranets and like knowledge bases and all that boring shit. And then I moved into like copy editing because I had that background in like writing books and stuff, so I could actually edit text into something that was somewhat legible. And so that's where I was at. So I was never like super technical with it. But yeah, I could put together like web pages and like intranet sites, that sort of thing. That was kind of as far as I went with that. Ivy says, if you haven't seen the Italian Spider-Man, you should watch it right now. It's one of the most ridiculous and fun short movies ever made. Sounds good. United Engines of America says, your thoughts on the classic animated Disney films? Love them. They were great. Back when Disney was like a family-oriented company that was patriotic and told classic stories. Yeah, awesome stuff. It's just a shame they've turned into a living nightmare. Andy O'Keefe's gave me £2 British, so thanks, man. The Contextual Gamer says, so he's chosen to be Sauron? Is he not alive? Well, there you go. Jim Farms says, did you watch The Chosen? No, I did not, my friend. I'm sorry. And Rory C says, it really grinds my gears that critics of critics say it's a fantasy world. There are no rules, so deal with it. Let's have Goku show up. So, exactly, yeah, let's have Godzilla just show up in the middle of this. Why not? There's no rules. Let's have Galadriel just fly from Numenor over to Middle Earth. She can just fly like Superman. Why not? No rules. This is where you start to run into problems. And I hate, yeah, like you say there, I fucking hate that defense of things like this. You establish rules for your fantasy world. They might be different from our rules in our own reality, but they are still rules that you abide by. But yeah, it is what it is. I mean, it's going to be interesting for the next few weeks as we get into the next, the home stretch with this. Man, some show. It's going to be interesting review fodder. I'm going to hold off making a proper like scripted drinker review until I've gotten to the end of it because I don't want to pass judgment on it too early. That's kind of why I'm doing these streams, to just give my thoughts as I go. Yeah. Someone said, has a ring appeared yet? No rings, sadly. Yes, can I make a video about Daredevil and the Punisher? Absolutely, and I do plan to, because I really want to. But yeah, I'm pretty much out of time, unfortunately, and I also know Friday Night Tights will be starting pretty soon. So yeah, you guys go and watch that and enjoy it. And if there's any super chats left over, I will absolutely catch up with them in a catch up stream, and it will all be uploaded to my second channel. But yeah, thank you for joining me tonight for this one. It's been totally impromptu. I just wanted to do it, give my thoughts on Rings of Power, where it stands. And yeah, I hope I've kept you somewhat entertained for the past hour or so. And thanks, guys. But that's all I've got for today. So go away now.